Hey. The other day, I was looking through one of my Facebook groups that I belong to, and I saw 3 posts in a matter of 24 hours that all basically said the exact same thing. And it was, I'm shooting my first wedding. Do you have any tips? Well, I'm here to help answer that question. I think that's a very general question, and there's many rabbit holes I could go down with this one. But for today, I'm just going to give you 50 quick tips if you're going to go out and shoot your first wedding. Or maybe you've already shot a few weddings and you just need a little extra help. This video might just be it for you. What's up? My name is Jay LeBlanc, wedding photographer and photo video educator. Throughout this video with my 50 plus different tips that I'm going to give you for shooting weddings, I'm going to break it into different categories to help make it a little bit easier to digest. Now before I get started, I'm just going to automatically assume that you know how to use your camera and you know how to use a flash, hopefully. So I'm going to exclude any tips regarding knowing your gear from this video. And with that being said, let's jump into our first category. And in our first category, we're going to talk all about planning. And up first is having a timeline. Probably one of the most important parts of a wedding. Make sure you plan a timeline with your bride and groom. Plan your family photos. Talk to your bride and groom ahead of time. Get a list of must-have family shots. That way on the wedding day, when they have a million other things on their mind and you don't actually know most of the people that you're photographing, you have a list right there with names that you could call out and make sure you get those pictures for that bride and groom. Plus, talking about it ahead of time also gives them an opportunity to really spend a couple days, maybe even a few weeks to think about who's going to be included in those pictures. Next, plan out your portraits. If you are going to a beach for all of your pictures, have some ideas of what entails a beach shoot. If you're going to a park, think about that. Or maybe you're doing your portraits indoors. That's a totally different mindset than if you were doing all your pictures outside. You might need to bring lighting and light stands and get creative with your compositions, especially if you're out in a public place. Maybe you went to a library or a museum. Some people love doing their wedding pictures in public areas, and I think it looks great, but you got to plan for it. Consider having a second shooter or an assistant with you. If it's your first wedding, having a second person with you is a huge stress relief. Because if you have like a oh shit moment, you can always have them to fall back on and run something by. Just tell them like, hey, make sure I don't do anything stupid. Probably the most important thing I'm going to say on this list, have a contract. This should be done months before the wedding. This should be done when they book you for the wedding. But make sure you have a contract in place. It will save you so many headaches in the long run. Even if it's just a basic contract for now that you find on the internet. I'm not saying that every contract on the internet is great, but it's a good starting place. When you have the funds for it and you start picking up more weddings, have a lawyer look at it. Make sure that all those details cover you. Because let me tell you, it will save you so many headaches down the road. I've had a contract in place that has saved my butt so many times. That's a story for another day. Months ahead of time before the wedding, plan a timeline, even if it's just a rough draft, of how the day is going to flow. So you have a general idea of where do we have to be and when. And this way, the couple has this information to also give to the other vendors as well as the people that are involved with the wedding. Family members, bridal party, guests, everybody will know where they're supposed to be and when. Make the timeline with the couple and just make sure that you have a general idea of who, what, when, where, why. Remember 5th grade English class? Who, what, when, where, why? Yeah, that's pretty much what you need to know for the timeline. And speaking of timelines, our next category is going to be the logistics. Timeline kind of fits into both of these categories, but I'm putting timeline in the planning category because it just makes more sense there. Logistics. There's a lot of logistics that go into the wedding day. This is your first wedding, or maybe it's your first time shooting at this venue. Maybe you want to go and scout it out. Check it out, see what the venue's all about, what it has to offer. It'll just help calm your nerves just a little bit to make the day that much easier for you. Arrive early to the wedding. Who cares if you get there an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours early? Sit in your car, go to a coffee shop around the corner, but get there early because nothing will make you stress out more if you run late to somebody's wedding day. Make sure you have a backup plan to everything, especially if you are planning on doing pictures outside at any point in the day. Make sure you have a backup plan if there's bad weather, rain, snow, hail, tornado, hurricane, apocalypse. Who knows? It could happen. Maybe even an alien invasion. Imagine an alien invasion ruining somebody's wedding day. That would suck. But make sure you have a backup plan to your photos. And even if you're not necessarily shooting outside, I've arrived at wedding venues that maybe do 2 or 3 weddings a day. And they say, oh, by the way, the other wedding party, they have access to this whole area. You can't go there. So you got to find something else to do. Well, that really puts a damper on things. So make sure you have a backup plan for almost everything throughout the day. Familiarize yourself with key events. Know when your first look is. Know that ceremony time. Know that cocktail hour and reception time. Know when people need to be in certain places. This kind of falls underneath the timeline, but make sure you know the very important key details and exactly when they are. Have that memorized. Take a piece of tape, put it on the back of your flash, write it on there, take a screenshot of it, set it as the background of your phone. Whatever it is, figure out a way that you have it very easily accessible or have it memorized. If it'll help calm your nerves, go shoot the rehearsal dinner. This will get you a better idea of who you're going to be working with on the wedding day. You get an opportunity to meet the parents, the bridal party, the close family members, people that you may not have met until the actual wedding day if you didn't go do this. Now, I'm not saying this is a must. It's just an idea. If it'll help calm those nerves for the wedding day for you. Prepare for different family dynamics. Listen, not all marriages are happily ever after. Some people get divorced, and it'll be really awkward when you say, hey, mom and dad, I need you to get nice and close and cuddle into each other next to your kids. Yeah, that might be a little weird if they're no longer together, especially if they're remarried and that person's standing over there watching them. Because let me tell you, I haven't had it happen to me, but I've been at a wedding where the photographer asked the divorced mom and dad to stand very close to each other, and their significant others, the bride and groom step-parents, were not very happy about that. That was a good one. Everybody had a good chuckle about that later on, other than mom and dad. Or in the unfortunate event that maybe a parent has passed away, especially grandparents, make yourself aware if they are still with us and if they are going to be included in those family pictures. I personally always include in my wedding day questionnaires a question about any family dynamics that I should be made aware of. This includes deaths and divorces. Those are the two big ones. If you're going to be doing any send-off shots with sparklers, bubbles, or maybe we're old school, we're going to throw some rice at the bride and groom. Make sure you have a little bit of a plan for this because it's not something you can just spur of the moment capture. Sometimes you just want to make sure that you're in the right place and don't miss that opportunity for that awesome send-off. And probably one of the most important logistical things we can do is know your route, know where you're going that day. I personally always print out a piece of paper with all the addresses and contact information for that wedding day. We rely a lot on these cell phones because what happens if you get to the bride's hotel room, you're getting out of your car to go do the getting ready pictures, and you step out of your car and your phone falls face down onto the asphalt? Because it happened to me one time. And then you don't have your GPS, you don't have your way of finding the next location, you don't have any of your information unless you printed it out, or you send it to your second shooter. So make sure you have a backup plan there. Make sure you know where you're going, have the addresses, because worst comes to worst, you can ask for directions or call me crazy. You could stop and buy a paper map. They still sell those at some gas stations. But whatever you do, just make sure that you have a backup plan to solely relying on your cell phone for everything that wedding day. For our next category, we have communication. Now this is huge. This is a big, big area that will really separate good photographers from great photographers. And I'm not talking about your quality of pictures. I'm talking about the experience that you give a bride and groom. Having good communication is so important. Not just when you're shooting a wedding, with your friends, with your family, with your significant other. Having good communication is really important when it comes to somebody's most important day of their life. So make sure you discuss with the couple ahead of time as much detail as you need. I'm not asking you to go and ask the couple the same question over and over again, but if something's not clear, ask that question because I'm sure the couple much rather explain something in more detail to you than you not know what's going on. So don't hesitate to ask those questions. And we're not just communicating with the couple here. Communicate with other vendors. Communicate with the planner, the venue, the DJ, the limo service, whoever else is involved with that way and might play a part in what you're doing. Make sure you communicate with all of them. There's no harm in just reaching out, sending an email. Hey, we're working together for so-and-so's wedding. Looking forward to it. Let me know if you need anything. Something that simple could potentially make your day so much easier. And all you have to do is ask the couple maybe a month before the wedding, hey, can you give me the contact information for your other vendors? And they'll probably have no problem providing that to you, especially if they know that it's going to benefit them. Be personable with everyone that you're in contact with. Make sure you have a good, friendly persona. Don't come off as a dick or really standoffish. These are people that you're going to be spending a lot of time with, working with, and you want to make sure you have a good experience. A big one that I love to do is stay positive, even when things are going to shit on a wedding day, because it will happen. Stay positive because you are there with that couple almost the entire day. And if you start getting spun out, they're going to feed off that energy. So if you can still stay positive, even when things are going wrong, the couple will definitely appreciate that afterwards. Learn how to direct. You're going to be working with a lot of people and sometimes very large groups. Make sure you learn how to give clear, concise information on where to stand, where to go, where they have to be, and when. Give that information in a way that's easy for everyone to understand. And have confidence while you're doing it. If you're going to be directing a large family picture, don't just say, Grandma, I think you should maybe go over there, and yeah, that's okay. Okay, that's good. No, that's not gonna fly. Don't do that. Do not do that. Stop it right now. Tell them, hey, this is what we're going to do. Grandma, can you please stand over there? Yes, you look beautiful. I love it. Doesn't your granddaughter look great? And you take that picture, and if it doesn't look good, you know what you do? You say, I think maybe we should balance it out a little bit differently. Sir, why don't you go over here? Grandma, I'm going to have you do this. And then you know what? You're not second guessing yourself in front of them. You're telling them, you know what? I made a quick decision. I made a wrong decision and I fixed it. Instead of just going, it really shows a lack of confidence. Make a decision, and even if it's the wrong one, you can fix it. And let me tell you, people appreciate people who are honest and willing to admit their mistakes. Make sure you're setting expectations for your couple. I've had weddings where the couple is like, oh, we want to go to this place, and this place. And they're all 15 minutes apart, and we want to take pictures at all of them. And I say to them, you gave me 30 minutes for pictures, and what you're asking for requires 45 minutes of drive time alone. When are we going to have time for pictures? Let them know how long it will realistically take to do things. I always tell people when it comes to a wedding day and travel, always add 50% to whatever the time says. If it says it's going to take an hour to travel somewhere, think in the back of your mind, it's going to take an hour and a half. This way, if there's traffic or a little bit of a delay, you're good. You planned for it. And if you get there early, awesome. You have extra time to take pictures. But just make sure that you set your expectations for your couple of how long things might take. Now, this category, personal conduct, is a big one for me because I take a lot of students out with me to work with me. And the way you handle yourself professionally is a huge indicator of whether or not I want to continue working with you. I could teach somebody how to take good pictures. I could teach somebody how to shoot a wedding. I can't teach you how to be a good person. If you're representing your own business, there's a saying that I absolutely love. People may not remember what you said. People may not remember what you did, but people will remember how you made them feel. And you want to make everybody feel like rock stars. Because listen, this is a very important day to this couple, their family, and their friends. They've been planning this for years. There's so much buildup. To you, it might just be another wedding, but to them, it might be the biggest day of their life. And you want to make them feel like rock stars on that day. So make sure that you're staying calm. Don't get spun out. Even if you are stressed out, don't show it. Go in the bathroom, say some mother effers in there, and come back out with a smile on your face. Because you do not want to get spun out in front of wedding guests, or more importantly, the bride and groom. And next, dress appropriately or professionally might be a better way of putting it. Don't dress like you were going to a dive bar with some of your friends or a concert at some little hole-in-the-wall venue. Dress like you're going to a wedding, but also dress that you have to work at that wedding. Now, I'm not saying wear a three-piece tux. I'm not saying wear a ballroom gown. I'm saying wear something that looks like you fit in, not something like you are just walking in off the street. For different people, it's different things. I personally am a really big fan of just a button-down shirt and dress pants. I know some people who will wear a suit. More power to you. I cannot move around very much in a suit. I just don't like the way it feels. It's too tight on me, even with the stretch fabric. And then for the ladies, I would recommend maybe wearing something that's appropriate in terms of if you have to be bending over to help a bride and groom, you don't want some little freaky cousin checking you out. Make sure that you're not going to be the victim of some really creepy wandering eyes. Is all I'm going to say on that one. Because I've seen vendors do that and it becomes an awkward situation sometimes once people start drinking. And piggybacking off of dressing professionally, make sure you wear comfortable shoes, or at least put insoles into your shoes, because you're going to be on your feet a lot. You do not want to wear uncomfortable shoes. Be respectful of people's boundaries. Make sure that you are not overstepping. Maybe a bride won't feel comfortable with you necessarily adjusting her hair. Ask for permission first. It's very easy to learn what somebody's boundaries may or may not be by just asking. Keep it fun. Do it with a smile. If you're smiling, having a good time, people are going to feed off of that energy and they will also have a good time. So make sure you enjoy yourself because, hey, it's a wedding. They're a lot of fun. And probably one of my personal biggest pet peeves when it comes to being professional on a wedding day is we all carry cell phones. We all have them in our pockets at all times. But there's a time and place for using them. Don't stand in the middle of the dance floor scrolling your Instagram feed. Do not take a phone call in the middle of doing family portraits. Unless that phone call is for something pertaining to that day, don't answer the phone unless it's a really big emergency. And to really just cap it all off, stay professional. Remember, at the end of the day, you are a walking billboard for your company. You don't know who in that room is going to be getting married next. But one thing that you do know is if somebody is considering you as their photographer and you do something that they don't necessarily love, it's a very easy no for them. That's been a lot of information already, and I haven't even gotten into gear or any of the photography techniques of it yet. But if any of this has helped you so far, please drop a like down below, comment, subscribe, do all the YouTube things. I will really appreciate it. And if you haven't checked it out already, I just recently started a Facebook group that I'm trying to grow a community of other photographers that just want to learn from each other. So if you haven't checked it out already, make sure after this video, you go check it out down in the description below. And now let's get back to finishing up the rest of our tip. First and foremost, have backups. Have backups to your camera bodies, your lenses, your batteries. If anything were to break on the wedding day, you should still be able to continue to shoot that wedding. You shouldn't be saying, uh-oh, I don't have another camera. I can't shoot anything else. That doesn't look too good. Make sure you charge everything. I can't even tell you how many times I've seen people show up to weddings with batteries that are dead. Charge your batteries. All of them. Have enough memory. If you think that you're going to shoot 3,000 pictures, make sure you have enough memory cards as if you were going to shoot 10,000 pictures. You can never have too much memory, but you sure can run out of it. Little pro tip on this one. If you happen to have a camera that only has one card slot, my suggestion, and something that I did for a very long time when I was shooting on cameras with one card slot, is shoot 2 small memory cards. God forbid you lose a memory card. It goes corrupt, you lose all the files on it, you're only losing a very small percentage of the day, opposed to if you shot the entire wedding on one memory card and that card went bad, you lose everything. If you are changing out your memory card every hour, then you are only going to lose 1 hour worth of shooting if a card were to go bad. Please do me a favor, use a lens hood. I don't understand people who put their lens hoods like this, especially if you are a wedding photographer. Keep your lens hood like this. Now, they don't only just block out lens flare, but they are fantastic for protecting that front piece of glass on your lens. This $20 piece of plastic has saved multiple $2,000 lenses for me on wedding days. On weddings, you're walking around a lot of people in a lot of tight spaces. You're going to bang your camera into things once in a while, and this lens hood will save the glass, but that glass cannot be saved if your lens hood is on backwards. A nice little thing to throw in your camera bag is a flashlight. Bring a flashlight with you. Wedding venues are dark. It's hard to see into your bag sometimes. Having a flashlight on hand might just come in handy when you least expect it. Make sure you have your off-camera flash with you. Off-camera flashes at weddings are extremely important for some of these wedding venues that are very dim or very big, and you are trying to light up a large area, you're going to need an off-camera flash in a lot of situations. Keep your gear organized. If something's happening really quick and you need to run over to your bag, grab a piece of gear, and run back, you don't want to be searching for it for 5 minutes. Make sure you know exactly where it is. Mind your exposure. Listen, when these cameras are hanging down at our sides, I personally hit the dials and switches all the time, and I'm constantly changing my exposure. So make sure that you are checking your exposure every once in a while to make sure that you're not shooting at some crazy settings. and that your pictures still look good, especially when you get into the reception where in most cases you kind of dial in your settings one time and then you don't really need to change too much other than your lights. So make sure that you are checking in on it every once in a while. Now this one's a little bit interesting. I made this list of all these things that I would recommend to somebody, but then I went and looked up somebody else's list. I was just curious to see what another photographer would recommend for somebody shooting their first wedding. And one thing I saw in there was use natural light whenever possible. And I was thinking to myself, yeah, that's great, but I have a better idea. Let's switch that from use natural light to use good lighting. If your natural light is good, by all means use it. But if you need to create good lighting, then create it. So I think we should change it from use natural light to find good lighting or create good lighting. Now let's talk all things photography tips. Probably the most important thing is you are there to document the day. So make sure you document everything. Document those getting ready pictures and the details. Document candids of big groups as people are just interacting with each other. Document the ceremony. Don't just take pictures of what's going on. Document it. Shoot the parents. Capture people's emotions. Shoot what's going on around you and don't just focus on the bride and groom. There's a bigger story there than just the two of them during that ceremony. Be careful of reflections. There is a lot of glass and a lot of mirrors at wedding venues. Unless you want to be photoshopping yourself out of the back of all these pictures, watch out for yourself, especially when you're using a flash. Use different angles. Don't take every single picture standing up with a couple dead center in the middle of the frame. Move them one way, move them the other way. Maybe we go to the bottom of the frame, go to the top of the frame. Do something interesting. Don't take every picture the exact same way. It's going to get very repetitive in their wedding gallery. Try staying discreet. When you're discreet, it's a lot easier to capture candid moments and people don't notice your presence as much. And this allows you to capture more natural, raw, organic emotions between people. Be attentive. Look for those moments. Anticipate them. When you see grandma interacting with the flower girl, just know that there's probably going to be a smile at some point. Or when you see two people get really excited to see each other for the first time in maybe years, capture those moments, but be looking for them all day long because you never know when it's going to come. When you get out on the dance floor, anticipate the action, especially if you know the song that's being played. You know when that beat drops. You know when there might be a specific dance move that happens to a song. Anticipate those moments because somebody will probably put on a good show for you. And when it comes to the photography stuff, the most important tip I could give you, back up everything as soon as you get home. As soon as you get home. Maybe even at the wedding. Back it up as soon as you can. You never know what might happen to these files, and you want to get them in as many locations as possible as fast as you can. Get a wide variety of shots. Make sure you're including candids and posed images and details and everything in between. You don't want to show the same boring thing through the entire wedding gallery. Look for compositionally interesting elements in your surroundings. Find ways within the environment that you're in to incorporate it and make your pictures more interesting. And my last category, I just have some additional tips. They don't necessarily fit into any of the other categories, so here's some just extra tips for you that are a little bit of a bonus. Avoid over editing. Don't go over the top processing your images. Deliver images that are on par with what's in your portfolio. Make sure you take a couple breaks. Wedding days are long. They're exhausting. You are constantly having to be creative and on your game. Take breaks. Go have a little bit of water, hydrate, eat something. Take breaks when you need it. Don't take long ones. 2 to 5 minutes should be more than enough, but make sure that you're taking care of yourself as well. Encourage guest participation. Tell them to do something fun. Maybe they have some crazy idea that they just want to do on their own. Let them do it. It might make for a great image that you didn't think of. Don't show your lack of inexperience. Just because this might be your first wedding or maybe you've only shot a handful of them before, just because you're new to the game doesn't mean you have to let everybody know. And speaking of experience, make sure you reflect on your experience. Go back, look at your pictures, think about what you did throughout the day, and reflect on it. This is how you improve and get better. And probably the most important thing I could tell you is have fun. This might be the most important day in somebody's life, and you get the privilege to capture it for them. That is such a big deal, and you should really, really be honored that they chose you to do this. And make sure that you are giving them a good experience and that you're enjoying it yourself, because weddings can be a lot of fun for people and you don't want to just be stressed out all day. Maybe you shoot the one wedding and you decide it's not for you. That's fine. I get it. It's not for everybody. But on that day, make sure you enjoy yourself just a little bit. So there you have it. That's my list. Hopefully you got 1, 2, maybe 3 things from it. And if anything in this list helped you out, I would love it if you could just leave a like down below, drop a comment, tell me some of the tips that you might give somebody if they were shooting one of their first weddings. And until next time, peace.